Greetings and welcome to PinballHelp. This is Mike here. Today I am looking at a new game that I picked up. This is Gottlieb's Target Pool. This is 1968, I believe. Funny story about this game. This game showed up on Craigslist and it was at a pretty high price, and I talked to the guy, and I was outside of my range, but I told him, good luck with that. If you end up being willing to settle, let me know. And that's what ended up happening. I ran into him a little bit later, and he had dropped the price. One of the things that frustrated him was somebody had demanded like a whole ton of pictures, and it got to the point where, in order to justify what he was asking, people were asking him to jump through all kinds of hoops, and he just thought it would be easier to unload it quickly. He dropped the price. Got tired of playing games with super picky buyers, so here it is. I think for its age, this game is in amazing condition. I mean, look at this play field. Usually these inserts are pretty worn. They shrink up and they get concave, and then the ball kind of wears the paint around them. I haven't cleaned this up at all. I haven't even turned it on. I've actually never seen it operating. When I went to pick up the game, the guy was like, "You want to plug it in and play?" I'm like, "No, let's just load it up." And he was amazed because he didn't even realize you could separate the head from the body, so I was a little bit worried about what maybe had happened to the game when he moved it around. But I've taken it apart, put it back together. I actually triple thicked the back glass already. You can see there's a little bit of flaking just in a few little areas. See right around here, but all in all, it's in pretty darn good shape for its age. Cabinet's in nice shape. There's no water damage. Playfield is really clean. I haven't even wiped it down, so I imagine it's going to clean up much better. The cabinet on the side's got a little bit of scratchiness. You can see right here some stuff scraping up against it. The other side of the cabinet is definitely nicer. Some interesting features here that I'm not used to seeing. This looks like it's nickel plated and not chrome. It's got a little bit of that yellow kind of shininess to it that I normally associate with nickel plating. So that's kind of cool. It could be chrome, but it sure seems like it's something different. The schematics and everything are in it. Let's take a look at the back. Show you what I saw, what I discovered. Okay, we got the back off of it, and let's move this right here. So this is our look in the back box of this 1968 Target Pool game. Do you notice any unusual things? Let's go down here. Take a quick look. One of the first things I noticed was there was a loose wire right here, which leads to this coil. And then when you look at this coil is crispy. Look at that. It's burned up. It's melted. I don't need to put a meter to it to probably figure out that it's shorted. So this thing is all froze up, but before that, look what it did. It put a hurting on the bell, but it's still working. This one appears to be okay, but this coil's fried and somebody's disconnected it. And we look over here at this coil, same situation. This coil looks to be fried, nice and crispy, and it's been unplugged. More interestingly, that bell really got pounded, the crap pounded out of it to basically to the point where it broke. I'll have to talk to Steve Young, see if we can get replacement ones, or maybe it can be fixed. But boy, it doesn't even ring. I don't know if it's because of the way it's mounted or because it's broken. Interesting. Another thing I'm not used to seeing is it looks like it's almost kind of brass or copper plating on these bolts. I don't know if you can get a good look at this, but check that out. It's got a little bit of a copper kind of color to it. See, there's a copper color to to a lot of the metal parts here. So what is that? Is that some kind of a plating that they put on it? Some kind of a brass? I would think it's not totally copper because it's not tarnished after all these years, but there's something interesting. But the bolts are all like that too. They're all kind of copper colored, copper brass colored. So kind of interesting. So I'm just about ready to turn the game on, but one of the things that I always do after checking to make sure it doesn't look like anything's going to explode is I will clean the Jones plugs, which are these guys right there. These are the plugs that basically separate the top from the bottom of the machine. So when you want to separate the machine and break it down, all you really need to do is unplug these two plugs, and then there's these two bolts on either side of the cabinet. Once you do that, you can basically just lift the whole head. It's a shame that modern games are not as easy to take apart as these. But you see these plugs always get a little nasty. So I'll take some Scotch-Brite cloth and just go over them a little bit. Try to just clean them up, make them work a little better. These plugs really hold up quite well over time, though. It's kind of neat. And let's see, I've got a little wire brush thingy here. Sometimes I'll just do a little in these holes. Anyway, fast forward, zip, zip, zip. Okay, so no. Just kind of make them a little shiny and plug them in. And the way you know how these plugs go is you see there's a thing sticking up here at one end. If you see this little thing sticking up, so the end without the wire harness attached to it is the other side. So it goes like that. Boom. Take this one out. Do the same thing. You can see there's some crud on this one, so we'll just clean it up a little bit. Make sure we get some good, nice, shiny contacts. Okay. There's nothing nice to breathe in. So, push that in. Kind of just give the game a good look over. We know these burnt coils are not hooked up, so they're okay. Always a good idea to take a look at what possibly we might have trouble with. You know, try it's a little sticky. So we'll see how that goes. I think a lot of these stepper units are going to be flaky, but the guy said it worked. But from my looking at it, I have a hard time believing that it ran actually smoothly and worked properly, because these stepper units definitely don't seem to be pretty smooth. So, okay, let's go around. I'll show you what else I saw when I first looked at the game. Now, I transported this, and maybe I made a mistake, but I had it on its side in my vehicle. And I don't know of any reason why that would be a bad thing, but when I unloaded the game and looked underneath it, this had flipped out of its holder, and this had flipped out of its holder too. So they weren't tightened up in here. You can loosen these two screws and this comes out for servicing, and the same thing right here. And look at this, we've got a coil that has come off here that powers this stepper unit. So that's going to have to be fixed. I don't know, I mean, I don't know if that happened in transport or not, but look at this. This is not going to work, obviously, until I get this fixed. So I got to figure out where that goes. I think it pulls this thing up like that. So there may be a bolt that's a nut that's missing that was loose. I'm going to try to figure out how that goes on before I even plug the thing in and turn it on, because there's no sense in expecting it to do much. So that's where I'm at with it. I always like to look over the game pretty well before I even put power to it, because had I not noticed this thing sitting here swinging loose, it could have created more damage in the game by shorting against something. So I'll give the game a good look over before I even try to turn it on, even though I'm anxious to see, you know, how far along we are with its playability. There's obviously some things that you're going to need some work. So this gives you an idea of another first look at a pinball machine and why it's important to take a good look at the game. And what I did was I went through and I picked up everything in the machine and put it in a Ziploc bag. So I had this bag of all these parts. So like I saw a couple of cotter pins in here, which leads me to believe that there's probably some of these relays back here are not pinned in. So again, since I see the cotter pin and I picked it up, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to check to see if any of these are in. Oh, look at that. That one right there is missing its cotter pin. So I want to make sure that I secure that, because that could fall out. So when you look at all of the little parts in the game, that's a good way of identifying what you might need to look at and where there may be problems and things missing. So here's where I'm at. I'm going to take a little bit of time to see if I can figure out how to mount that coil and maybe get a little bit further along with the game, but I wanted to share with you my first look at it as I just brought it in and put it back together. So stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching. Visit pinballhelp.com.